passion for a subject or a hobby? Do you have a burning desire to share that passion? Do you want to monetize that passion? As a professional speaker and trainer, Kenny Ray has helped a variety of organizations such as General Mills, AT&T, Ameriprise Financial, and Delta Airlines, to name a few. To this day, Kenny Ray is motivated by the infamous words of his 4th grade teacher, shouted at him. Speak when you are spoken to, come when you're called, you'll make a good hunting dog by next fall. As a result, Kenny Ray became a competitive speaker in Toastmasters International. Over the past 8 years, he has reached the finals of the International Speech Competition 3 times for the world champion of public speaking. In his presentation, From Toastmasters to Public Speaker, Kenny Ray shares the joys, challenges, and fears associated with becoming a professional speaker. Kenny Ray Morgan.
Speak when you're spoken to. Come when you're called. You'll make a good hunting dog by next fall. The whole class just uproared and went to laughing and shouting and jeering at me, and I was just playing along with the game. But inside, the old heart was hurting because that was a nail in the coffin type situation where everybody was laughing at me, and I pretended that I was okay with it and I laughed along. But to this day, to this very day, and I kid you not, that motivational quote, and I call it a motivational quote simply because it was part of my why. You talked about why earlier. Why? That's a big, big deal. You want to know why you do anything, right? But more or less, you want to know and understand, why do I want to have this? And that's one of the first things I'll tell you that motivated me to come into professional speaking. It's a little bit more than that, but that's the one quote. Speak when you're spoken to, come when you're called. You make a good hunting dog by next fall. It's unfortunate that that teacher at the time didn't take that and harness it for me, to help me to be what I could be in terms of a speaker. She didn't really realize that. She saw me as a brat that always loved to run his mouth, always the clown, always trying to make somebody laugh. Well, I tell you, if she would have taken me by the hand, pulled me aside, and helped me to constructively work that, then I would have been much better off at that age in school because I was always enthusiastic, but she didn't do that. But I learned later on in life that I was so grateful for that teacher. You see, it started for me in college. I went to school as an accountant to become an accountant. Didn't really understand it, but I knew that accountants were needed all over the country, and I can always get a job as an accountant. So I went into the field, struggled through it, came out okay. And when I got my first job as an accountant, I absolutely hated it. I hated it with a passion. Now, I've talked about this before, and I've told people to not get put off because I'm talking about being an accountant. Now, if you're an accountant, it's great. It's a great profession. Don't get me wrong. I am not dissing your profession, but I just absolutely hated it with a passion. I absolutely hated it. So I worked in to about 4 or 5 companies, believe it or not, good companies. Nothing wrong with the companies. I would move in to move up to move out, or they'd kick me out. Why? Because I had no passion for it. It was only there for the money. And I couldn't leave it. I couldn't leave because this is what I was trained for, and I had to do it. I had to do it. And if I left it, I'd be on Poor Street. So I stayed in it. And people would detect that I had no passion for what I was doing. I was just going through the motion of doing it. And after a while, I said, that's it. It comes to a time when in your life you just have to put up or shut up. And I had to put up because my sanity was at stake, ladies and gentlemen. It was. You know, when you get to a job where you feel that, I hate getting up to the alarm clock. You know, the alarm clock buzz off. You have to get ready to go. I found myself many days wanting to, as I was driving into that parking lot to go into that company, I found myself wanting to drive right on by the company. Just keep going. I hated it that much. And when you get to that point, folks, it's time to make some changes. I don't care if the money is good. I don't care if you've fallen in love with the people, but if you are not happy with what you're doing, you'll be miserable. So I decided to get out of it. And the only thing I had to fall back on was the retail experience I had through working with my mother. She had a small boutique shop in Louisiana, and it was very successful. She had no formal training, and I just learned from her. And I learned just simple, practical things. And so when I got out of accounting, I went into my own clothing business, and I started as a salesperson at Neiman Marcus. Now, I didn't know I was going into my own business, but it was that I was going into my own business after about 5 years. I just said, I can do this. I don't need people over me telling me what to do and taking most of the profits. So I started it. And I'm telling you what a journey that was to start. You talk about being poor. You're talking about being homeless. I felt like I was both poor and homeless. Although I wasn't on the street with a sign said, we'll work for money, I was going from place to place looking to get into something that I can sink my teeth into. So finally, I got started with this clothing business, and I would do Dress for Success seminars. And I would get people coming up to me asking me, can you come to my school, my son's school, and do that presentation? Or can you come to our Rotary and do that? Can you come to my chamber? So folks, I had people asking me all these different things. And lo and behold, Dress for Success became Kenny Ray Morgan's seminars, so it's the Kenny Ray Live seminars, because I found I had a niche for conveying a message to people and motivating, and I wanted to do more of it. So real quickly, and this is kind of low-hanging fruit because I'm just talking off the surface now so you can grab a few things. So if you're an aspiring speaker, I say the first thing you have to do is find your niche. You have to find your niche. Find out what you are passionate at and what you love doing. You've got to find the niche. And you have to really be serious about it. Not just interested in it. You have to be committed to it. The second thing I thought about, I said to myself, I have a passion for it, but who am I going to talk to? Where am I going to find these people that will pay me to speak? Well, I would go to BNI. I had a business association networking group. I'd go to them and I'd talk to them and they'd give me ideas. I'd go to chambers and speak to chambers, and those chambers were the pulse of the community. These people had businesses where they wanted people to come in and speak, so I'd get engagements from that. I'd go to schools, and somebody at a school would turn me on to somebody that was in a company. So lo and behold, things started to happen. And the third thing that I thought about was, how do I get better so I can charge more? Yeah. And so I said, well, mimic what you like in the persons that you like for your mentors. And I had several of them: Les Brown, Brian Tracy, Joel Osteen. I had quite a few that I listened to, that I learned from. And that's what I would say to you. Find somebody that's doing what you want to do and follow them. I have no formal education in communication. I took one class in speech, and I was happy I took that when I came out here. But I had no formal education. All of it was on the go. And that's why I say this is low-hanging fruit that I'm giving you now. But pull from it. 3 things, and I see that I'm on the red already. 3 things I would suggest to you. Find what your passion is. Find what your niche and your why. Number 2, always work within groups. Networking yourself. This is the way you do it. Get yourself some business cards. And number 3, how can I advance myself? Instead of me being revengeful, wanting to be revengeful, get revenge on people that said I couldn't do this, I start to find within myself to say, okay, how can you not prove them wrong, but prove yourself right? How can you prove you right that this is what you want to do? So again, those are the 3 things, folks. And I think that once a person decides what they want to do, it's hard to deter or discourage a made-up mind. So I'll leave you with a quote. Everybody else is quoting. I love quotes. And this is from Nietzsche. Nietzsche says, if you know the why to live, you can bear anyhow. Know what your why is to speak, and I tell you what, you'll become a great speaker as well. Thank you.